Welcome to another edition of Arizona Wildcats Insiders Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Hutchison. And guys, we are getting very close to Arizona Wildcats training camp in preparation for the 2025 season, year 2 underneath Brent Brennan. Noah Fafita is back. They've done a little switches on the coaching staff with Joe Salavea. Now the defensive line coach, Seth Dagey, the offense coordinator, Danny Gonzalez, taking over as the DC. So major changes, a couple other changes as well, but we are getting ever so close to the 2025 college football season. Arizona kicks things off against Hawaii on August 30th in Tucson on TNT against the Rainbow Warriors. A little bit of an interesting game with the two programs being coached by former Arizona coach and former Rainbow Warrior coach and coaching legend Dick Tomey. I'd like to call this game, the Dick Tomey Bowl or the Dick Tomey Classic. Both programs would not be what they are today without that man and his ability to coach both teams and build up those programs. But we are starting Arizona football training camp on Wednesday. That is July 30th. The Wildcats will be in action, and the day before that, they'll have media day, local media day, with all the coaches available and a select group of players on both the offense and defensive side of the ball. It's going to be absolute mayhem with interviews and everything during that day. So we'll have full coverage of that with offensive players, defensive players, coaching staff, Brent Brennan, and everybody commenting on the 2025 season and what they expect out of this training camp, what they're looking for, where they're looking to get better. Some things that come to mind are the offensive line. They got to shore that up. Obviously, the offensive system with Seth Dagey, how that looks with Noah Fafita going into training camp compared to spring football. Defense staying healthy, adding depth at the defensive tackle position. And who's the pass rusher going to be? Trey Smith, I think, is going to be an elite pass rusher for Arizona. But outside of that, the Wildcats do not have much on paper, so I want to see how things stack up there this training camp. There's a lot to be interested in, but before we get to all that, we've been counting down the greatest at every position for Arizona football. We did coaches. We did the greatest players of all time. We did the greatest defensive players of all time. Now, we're going to be shifting our focus to the greatest offensive players in Arizona football history. I think the defense list is an absolute star-studded elite top 5. It's hard to get in that 5 position. I mean, there's just so many great defensive players that have come out of the University of Arizona, with Arizona kind of being known as a defensive-minded school, a linebacker school, and a hard-nosed, tough-nosed football program, especially back in the 80s and 90s and even into the Mike Stoops era. Arizona's trying to get back to that in terms of the defensive mentality. You saw it during the 2023 season with defense coordinator Johnny Nansen. Arizona was very tough. They're one of the top 20 against the run, one of the better defenses in the Pac-12 that season. So we're going to be counting down the offensive list, which I think is a little bit more open than defense. It was a little bit of a struggle for that 4-5 position, but I think the top 3 are pretty solid. Let's get things off at number 5, and he's the only quarterback on this list. Quarterback Nick Foles. Nick Foles will be going into the Arizona Sports Hall of Fame this year, was coached under Mike Stoops, helping Arizona get to back-to-back bowl games, and unfortunately not winning one of those games, but the Wildcats were really rolling in that era. They came 1 game short of going to the Rose Bowl against the Ducks in 2009. You talk about loaded rosters, but Foles was the absolute best signal caller for that team. To me, he is the greatest quarterback in the history of this program. He had weapons galore at the receiving position, in the running back room, tight end. Obviously, Rob Gronkowski did not play that season, and to be honest, that's why he didn't make this list, because his numbers would be insane. But Nick Foles was the catalyst of it all, just leading the way for the offense like a true point guard. Just phenomenal out there. Leads the team in passing yards, leads the team in passing touchdowns, is top 5 in completion percentage. Nick Foles is the do-it-all quarterback, the gold standard for Arizona football quarterback. So he is on the list at number 5. Number 4, the former greatest receiver in U of A football history, Bobby Wade. Bobby Wade held all the receiving records for Arizona when he ended his career with the U of A. Unfortunately for Bobby, he went through that transition from Dick Tomey to John Malkovich. So a little bit of a downward trend during his career for Arizona, but a terrific playmaker, sure hands, good solid speed, had a long NFL career, and was one of the best weapons in the Pac-10 at that time. I mean, if you put Bobby Wade on a USC or Cal or even in Oregon and Oregon State during that time, the numbers he could have put up were unreal. He had to deal with a lot of quarterback issues. He had to deal with offensive line issues. You saw Clarence Farmar not on the roster anymore by the end of that. So there's a lot of issues going on. But Bobby Wade is one of the most consistent offensive weapons Arizona's ever had. To me, he was number one receiver of all time until Tetairoa McMillan came around. So that gives you an indication that Tetairoa McMillan is on this list. And then Wade, not only that, as a player, but coming back as a coach and coaching up Tetairoa McMillan to break those records and put him in the right position to be a number 8 overall pick. I know NFL should not have anything to do with it, but the fact that Bobby Wade was an absolute monster here at a U of A and now is coaching the team and has put Arizona in position to get big-time recruits, he's making this list. Bobby Wade is number 4. You could talk about him being higher, but I have him at number 4 for Arizona. Number 3, to me, you can make for this guy a case to be the greatest running back in the history of the program. Was an offensive juggernaut at the running back position. Nobody could stop him. Was a first-round draft pick at number 30 or 31 overall to the St. Louis Rams, and that is none other than stud running back Tron Candidate, who helped lead the team to a 12-1 season during the 1998 season, ending in an we won't call it an upset win, but a win over powerhouse Nebraska in the Holiday Bowl, 23-20, and Arizona ended its best season ever at number 4 in the country in the final AP poll. They came within one game, the UCLA game, to maybe making the national championship game, or one game, UCLA-Miami, if UCLA doesn't lay an egg against a really underwhelming Hurricane team in 1998, and they handle business, Arizona's going to the Rose Bowl. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, but Tron Candidate, I know ASU fans cringe when they see him. When you have runs of 60, 70, and 80 against your in-state rival to finish off the regular season, that's highly impressive. The guy was a monster. Again, not originally recruited as a running back at Arizona, was moved to that position and never looked back. I think he's one of the more complete backs in the history of U of A. Number 2 is Kadeem Carey. And again, I think you can go back and forth between the two. But the thing with Kadeem, when you're talking about offensive weapons, he was an absolute workhorse for Rich Rodriguez. Without Kadeem Carey, Arizona's not going to bowl games underneath Rich Rodriguez the first couple of years. Kadeem was by far the best running back in the country. Didn't win a Doe Walker Award, which surprises the heck out of me. But there is nobody in the country that you'd rather give the ball to than Kadeem Carey. You can move the pile, strong physical back. You got heavy workload against the Ducks. He had 50-plus carries with 250-plus yards and 3 touchdowns. And then you have games against Colorado with 306-plus yards rushing all over those Colorado Buffalo. I think they still have Kadeem Carey flashbacks and shimmer a little bit. But Kadeem is the ultimate weapon at the running back position, is the all-time leader in yards, is the all-time leader in touchdowns, is the all-time leader in carries. I mean, he is up there with everything on that list. Just a complete workhorse, and Arizona would not be where it was during that time without the CDO running back, the local product, Kadeem Carey. Number 1. I think a lot of people could argue Kadeem and Tron to be number 1. I have a problem with this. Number 1 is Tetairoa McMillan. I've covered not only college sports, I covered high school sports, a couple programs. The greatest offensive weapon, the greatest receiver I've ever seen in my life is Tetairoa McMillan. As a kid, I watched Deshaun Jackson tear it up for Cal. I've watched countless receivers at USC, ASU, Washington. There's nobody better than Tetairoa McMillan. Tetairoa McMillan is the ultimate offensive weapon. You're talking about a 6'5" receiver that has blazing speed for his size. I know everybody's like, 4.41. Yeah, at 6'5". At 6'5", that's incredible. And he can go up and get it like Larry Fitzgerald. I've never seen a guy outside of maybe Jawan Kreiner in Tucson that can go up and get that ball. Jawan and Tetairoa McMillan were the best go-get-the-ball type of guys. And the numbers he put up, he broke every receiving record that Bobby Wade held, except for receptions. He had 213 at the end of his career. And he had Mike Thomas as the all-time leading receiver in terms of receptions for the career. But Tetairoa McMillan, that 2022 class, without him, doesn't get to an Alamo Bowl. They don't go 10-3. They don't beat Oklahoma. Tetairoa is the greatest receiver in the history of this program. He's the most complete offensive weapon in the history of this program. And, man, he was a nightmare for teams to face. They tripled him last year, and he still put up almost 1,300 yards and 8 touchdowns. That's how great he is. So for me, Tetairoa McMillan is the number one offensive weapon in U of A football history. Please let us know who you think is number one by following us on Twitter and commenting and letting us know. But hit that follow button at Arizona Wildcats on SI Twitter and give us a follow.